What was?
Hi, Nellie Gertzberg-Selby.
Hi, Nellie.
Hi, Derek.
Hi, Alex Gertzberg.
Hi, Molly Dever.
How's it going with everybody?
So awesome.
Yeah.
Professional equipment that
Oh my
Nellie set up
gosh.
all by herself.
She's amazing.
Am I blushing?
Yes. Yes. I'm not quite sure what Alex Gertzberg or myself, but mainly Alex Gertzberg would do without you.
I would
I really don't.
suffer greatly.
And if you would like a raise, put my name in as a recommendation for that, or I'll write some kind of letter or
mind.
something. No
When
problem.
he fires me, I'll come running to you.
Excellent. Excellent. She's having a hot flash. She's a little young to be having a hot
I don't know
flash.
how you're wearing a sweater. You're wearing
I do not feel warm at all. I feel very good.
Maybe you're pregnant again.
a cold flash. Me?
Don't you get hot flashes when you get pregnant?
That or old. It's mainly old.
Well, it's not. We know it's not that.
Right. I was just
You
saying.
pregnant, Nellie?
Why don't you start this whole thing over? It's way too early.
Wait, there was no answer to that.
Wait a second.
Well, not that I know of.
Molly, has anyone ever told you that your face looks like Drew Barrymore?
Funny you should say that. I cleared a bar out once because
Is this related to what I just said at all?
yes, because people thought I was Drew Barrymore, and the bouncers moved people back for me. This is back in the day when I was a couple of pounds shyer, but yes, yeah. So it's funny. I don't see that, but it's funny that you say that.
Because people would have been rushing for your autograph.
I was leaving, and they thought I was someone important. They thought I was Drew Barrymore. I was like in Willoughby, and they just kind of helped me get out quicker than
Yeah, like
the normal person
there are
would.
certain
That's
expressions
funny.
that you have that
Funny.
are reminiscent.
I'll take it. I'll take
I
it.
had this idea one time. You know Woo, right?
I need to meet Woo.
Oh, he's the coolest.
Mm-hmm.
So Woo was, we called him the prime minister of cool because he was so stylish and trendy in college, you know, and so like he would wear the cool glasses that nobody else could pull off, you know, cool haircuts.
Like the Tom Cruise ones. Those were big in the day. The Top Gun.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
So I had this
Ray-Ban.
I had this idea, this dream that we would all go to a strip club, right? And Woo wouldn't say anything at all. And we would spread a rumor around the strip club that Woo was a famous director, right? And we would invite the strippers back to
Nice.
for a screening
Nice.
at our crappy college dorms. That they would certainly figure.
You have to have dreams.
Right.
You have
That
to.
was the only flaw. We would have had to get like an expensive hotel.
It's funny about the sunglasses, though, because everyone knows you're a star or someone important if you're wearing the sunglasses inside. So what's the point of take them off and then maybe we won't be.
I run into walls when I wear my glasses indoors.
I just don't. I recently ran into Khloe Kardashian at the game. I got to take a selfie with her, and she's in the arena with her sunglasses on. Like, what is the point of
What the
that?
Cavs do at that game?
They won because we have swept both series so far. Yes, we are 8-0 for the series.
Is that right?
Yes,
exciting.
that's very exciting. Very exciting. We're gonna do it again. We're gonna do a watch party too at the town hall for this next series. The Cavs dropped off a whole bunch of swag,
Lovely.
so we'll have a little party there. And now a tip from our sponsor, the Gertzberg Law Firm, a law firm in Chagrin Falls, Ohio.
Thank you, Molly. When you guys get, I don't know, like a big construction job at your house done, right? Do you go with the first quote that you get? Let's say it's like a $10,000 project at your house. How many quotes do you get?
I would say 2 to 3 quotes.
Right. Because you want your businesses to compete against each other, right? And you want more information from them than you would get if you just went to one, right? For whatever reason, people don't do this with lawyers. I think I know the reason. The reason is that when they need a lawyer, they're feeling vulnerable and they're feeling a little bit desperate and a little bit short on time, right? In reality, most things that you get a lawyer for can wait for you to be diligent about who you choose. And you shouldn't just go with the lawyer that you've got a relationship with or the lawyer that your brother knows, right? You should treat lawyers the same way you would treat any other vendor.
Interesting.
Right. So when I was in-house counsel, right? And I used outside counsel for our specialized matters, things like that I didn't practice. Anything over $10,000, I sent out an RFP, a request for proposal. I sent it out to at least 3 law firms. And in my request for proposal, I asked them how they were going to staff my matter. I asked them what their best pricing was going to be for my matter. I asked them to give me an initial game plan, and I asked them for references. And I would then call those references. I would then build a matrix that compared apples to apples each of the responses from each of the 3 law firms. Now, some law firms didn't want to participate, and that's fine. I don't need their business, right? But I can promise you that
Because they didn't want to compete with somebody, or
because they were too big, frankly, right? And they thought that I might be too. They didn't need my business, right? Law firms and lawyers that want your business enough to communicate with you about how they're going to proceed with your matter, those are the law firms I want to talk to, right? And I can tell you that every time I did an RFP, I got a much better and more transparent engagement from a lawyer than when I didn't. So use RFPs, people. There's really no reason not to, and you'll get better results that way.
excellent.
Great legal tip.
Very good to know. Very good. And it makes total sense. I mean, we do shop around when it comes to everything else. So it does totally make sense.
And don't worry about offending anybody, right? They'll know that you are someone who takes the hiring of professionals seriously, and they will take you more seriously because of it.
So would you look poorly on me if I just chose you and didn't do my homework?
I would not think poorly of you.
Whew.
No, not at all. And I actually like getting RFPs from clients because I think of them the same way. This is somebody that thinks enough about their matter that they're not just going to give money away to the first lawyer that.
And you don't always go with the cheapest.
That's right.
You know, I mean, it's personality, it's cost, it's what you get for your money. And I would assume that's the same as, like with a lawyer, it would be the same thing, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I would add one more thing, right? The right way to go about it is do a little research up front. Still get to the lawyer because somebody referred you. Those are, if you already can work off of somebody else's relationship, especially if it's somebody that you trust, that's what you want. But you give them a heads up and you say, here's my matter, here's what I need a lawyer for. I'm shopping around. I'm going to talk to 3 lawyers, and I'm going to give each of them an RFP to give you a heads up. Let me know if you've got any issue with that, and they'll tell you if they do.
Good points. Good points. I'm really excited about our guest today. Yes, Dr. Keith Latore.
Dr. Keith. Do you know what he's a doctor of?
I do not.
We'll find out.
Yes, but it's what he prefers us to speak to address him as.
I think that he is certainly worthy of some title.
So how long have you known Dr. Latore?
I was introduced to him when I first opened the law firm. He had I think he and I moved into the same block of South Franklin within a few months of each other. And he came over, we had some drinks, we talked about finance, something that he knows a lot about. He has been sort of, we keep like going into and out of each other's lives randomly.
He used to be my neighbor. We watched his dog for a while when they went out of town.
Is that right?
Yes.
How long ago was that?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
They rented a house in our development for a while. And then I had his kids in preschool, his daughter at preschool.
Yeah. Who is he?
Dr. Latore is in the house.
Keith, we were just talking about you before you walked in. So what happened was that Keith talked for I'd say 10, 15 minutes.
Yes.
Right. And then I looked over at our newfangled technology over here and saw that it was not moving. And so we're starting over. We're starting Keith's interview over.
I bet you the second time around it's going to be even more.
The first one was
amazing.
sensational. The first one was amazing.
Yes.
But, well, here, let's, maybe the thing to do is, should we just give highlights? And then we can just keep going from where we left off?
Listen, you guys are in charge.
Here's a recap. Here's what we learned about Keith in the first 15 minutes. We learned that Keith is a serial entrepreneur who is currently the CEO of Save Local Now, or SLN Connect.
Correct.
We also learned that he still is, are you still the CEO or just a board member? Not to devalue, but movable,
Yes.
right? Are you still the CEO of that?
I am not.
They just sold that company, and that company is largely successful, continuing their philosophy.
And not a competitor of Fitbit, right?
Correct.
Different audiences.
Correct.
Which is why Keith isn't offended that I'm wearing one.
Correct. And Keith started his love affair of starting businesses because his father was a very successful business starter himself.
Right?
Business starter.
His
I
father,
love that.
Yeah.
Dad was in the,
Entrepreneur is such a hard word, and
for some of us.
It's so funny how
I
people,
always trip up on that
and
word.
how people pronounce it. You have those people that are dedicated, and I'm not going to call out my friend by name, but
please
he's
do.
very, 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 very specific on how he entrepreneur.
Yes.
And it's-
no, I can never say it. So let's just go with business starter.
There you go. I like it. Simple.
Exactly.
His father was in the mortgage business, and
Was.
Keith watched him work very hard and wanted to follow in his footsteps, but not in the mortgage business per se, but rather in the entrepreneurial lifestyle and business, right?
You're missing all the color. I mean, I wrote the essay in high school in AP
Yes.
English.
He
and-
didn't want to be his dad. He wanted to be like his dad. Then he was super bad in freshman year.
There were some freshman indiscretions that
Yes.
we aren't going to mention.
Wow. Jumped right to that.
Right. Let's see. Well, here, you know what? To be honest with you, I want to hear about Save Local Now anyway. And we didn't even start talking about that. So let's talk
Okay.
about that.
And
Cool.
I want to hear
All right.
about being on the board of Cleveland Playhouse because I find that to be intriguing.
All right. So let's talk about Save Local Now.
Cool.
And then let's talk about the Playhouse.
So Save Local Now and Save SLN Connect. I'm assuming, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, that the Save Local Now Connect is a online version, kind of a pumped up of Save Local Now, the Connect, right? Or is it all the same thing? Because you said Connect was new, right? Am I wrong?
I love giving Molly no expression when she's asking this question.
See, I was trying to figure out what that expression
I think
meant.
Save Local Now has always been around, and now Save Local Connect is this new, fancy, exciting thing in the digital world that's just coming out.
Well, you should attach my sizzle video to this podcast.
Yes.
But
Done.
Write that
You
down.
don't
a
have to.
sizzle
Nellie's
video.
listening. Nellie, sizzle video.
there you go. No, long and short of it, Save Local Now, we started the company in 2011. And the whole premise was Groupon was, the big thing out there. And, I was on the board of an organization, your hometown, Sugar and Falls. And it's, committed to the merchants here in Sugar and Falls. And we heard a lot, what have you done for me lately? What have you done for me lately? What, how can you help me get more business? And, Groupon was the craze, like Cover of Fortune, all that stuff. And then when you started digging in, you said, it's not a good deal for small businesses when you're giving 30% of your revenue back to a company just to send to an email list. So idea popped, actually wrote the idea on a cocktail napkin.
I love that.
Still looking for the cocktail napkin. But
Also, the entire SLN business plan.
Yes.
Cocktail napkin.
correct.
All of the employment agreements.
Yes, also.
Shareholder agreement.
Done. But long and short of it was okay. what do small businesses struggle with? They struggle with digital marketing. Obviously, digital over the last 6 years has exploded. And before that, and said, how can we make this easier? How can we allow them to, promote themselves without having to hire some, super promoter, if you will, and give up a chunk of the revenue? So we started as a deal and event app, which was just to allow consumers to access deals and events by local businesses, right? Super simple. And we partner with chambers of commerce. And through that, allowing them to provide this as a member benefit, to say you can now use this service to promote your deals and events. We'll encourage consumers to download the app. They download the app. They can access your deals and events and all that. And obviously the world evolves, and companies that don't evolve die. And shortly after, Groupon, was denounced because all of a sudden you started to see all these YouTube videos of small businesses saying they've, destroyed our business the percentages we're giving up, and it just doesn't make sense, and all this stuff. And that didn't just affect Groupon; that affected everyone. It was, that wasn't the challenge about getting that immediate boost to business. The challenge for small businesses was how to continually promote yourself as a small business and make sure people are aware of what you're doing. So long and short of it, we've evolved as a company. We've continued to add features. We started with deals and events. Then we added search engine optimization, which is helping to be found on the top pages of Google and Bing and Yahoo. Because, interesting fact, 93% of online experiences begin with search. So whether it's Siri that you're asking, hey Siri, or if you're typing into Google, what you're looking for, that's where it begins. And so added that functionality. Then it was email marketing, which is one of the most effective ways to promote your business to your existing customers or to build a larger customer base. So we built email marketing functions. So the culmination of all of this is SLN Connect, which brings, all the best of Save Local Now forward, but also adds some additional functionality. After polling, we have actually about 100,000 customers now nationwide. And
by customer, you're talking about individual businesses?
Correct.
Wow.
And when we talked to them and said, what else do you need? Where else, what else can we build for you? What else can we deliver for you? And it really is about that small business. It's saying, okay, I struggle with this. Can you make it easier? So we made it easier. We made it mobile based, right? So you can do it from your mobile phone. We gave them the ability to do a bunch of other things like upload pictures and menus and all this other fun stuff. But most importantly, we introduced a premium product that is $39 a month for its business, which will take all the information they enter into Save Local Now and push it to every conceivable destination. So whether it's Yelp or Foursquare or Yellow Pages, YP, whatever destination that someone may land on, we actually take that information from the business and make sure it's accurate for them. Those services alone, if you look at Yext and other competitors, not to call them out by name, but they'll charge you $250 a month minimum. So basically, the whole premise is delivering value to the small business where they need it. So businesses need to be found to manage Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Yahoo, their website, and everything else. Email marketing can take 30 hours a week. We, for $39 a month, allow them to do all of that stuff.
Keith,
from one location.
So
very cool.
Let's go backwards.
Nope.
And you.
Gosh, you're always going backwards.
Well, yeah, because I like origin stories, Molly. I like understanding what makes people who they are and as successful as they are. And
I just did my company a disservice by talking about it.
What do you mean? No, not at all.
But I can simplify that.
Well, I want to know.
Can we start over again? Like
Yeah,
I screwed up the first time?
That was very good.
I'm kidding.
No,
Thank you.
I want to hear.
But obviously, Alex needs to know a little more.
I do.
Trying to interrupt his question.
Before, I will not be moved. Before this was movable, which we talked about and then didn't record. But that was the wristbands that got all kinds of high school students moving and recording their activities and competing against each other, and that got sold to a company or merged into a company in Texas, I think you said?
Houston.
Right. And so how do you go from wristbands? I guess that's a technology company though, right?
Again, these days everything's tied back to technology,
Right.
but it's really about what the market needs. Again, coming back to small businesses, what do they struggle with? Can you fix that pain, and can you add value and bring them something that they can't get anywhere else? And we use our leverage in the marketplace to deliver that. MoveBand is similar. Is that a kid who's, maybe not an athlete, doesn't play soccer, traditional sport, baseball, football, whatever, but wants to be active, again, give them a tool that can manage their activity and make them feel good about themselves.
Right, but how do you go from that to Save Local Now?
Well, they were kind of concurrent.
They were? Okay.
Yeah.
So how did Save Local Now start?
On a cocktail napkin.
All right, I see now. So it was just.
So
yeah.
let's go back origin if you want to go. Latore Capital. So
Okay.
my father exited his company. I actually ended up working for him after my foray into dental continuing education and a number of other opportunities. My dad called me and said, "Hey, you'll appreciate this. Your brother-in-law is shipping off to Iraq," and he ran the secondary marketing desk for I think it was Home Mortgage Assured Corporation was the name of the company at the time. Secondary marketing is where you sell loans in the secondary market. So when make loan application, you sell that to an investor, whether it's another big bank, right? And I've been doing this since I was 16. I think the statute of limitations is closed on that to see if I was actually doing this.
Is that SDOs, securitized debt obligations? Is that what that is? Is that like when they resell? They package a bunch of notes together and then they resell them as investments.
Well, CD
like
was it collateralized?
That's it. Collateralized debt obligations.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, it's packaging loans, and the what the mortgage crisis was, right? But there's different types of loans, obviously.
We're not going to hear how Keith single-handedly took down the entire United States economy. That story.
That's for another one.
That's been told.
Didn't happen, ladies and gentlemen.
No, it was. But to your point, it was. That was the loans we made were not the no income, no asset. No, these were good loans to good people, and
right.
Long and short of it is that my brother-in-law was getting shipped off to Iraq, and this was right at the time where my father was going through this acquisition process. And he said, "You're the only one who knows how to do this. I just happened to be exiting a company at the time." Mm-hmm. And he said, "Will you come in?" I said, "Yeah, I've got some things, loose ends I've got to tie up, but I'll come in after hours." Well, that's right when the mortgage boom kind of hit. And so I would be doing my day job for 8-10 hours a day, and then literally go to the office and then be locking loans or until midnight.
What was your day job?
My day job at the time was another little company we kind of turned around, which was the company was Profit Direct, and it helped companies recover funds from bad, essentially looking at their accounts receivable and accounts or actually their accounts payable, and say, "Did you overpay?" And you basically audit their accounts payable, and you share in a percentage of the savings. Yeah. So it was neat, and was leaving that company, and my dad said, "Hey, could you come and do it and help us for 6 months?" Came back for 6 months. Turns out I love the mortgage business, and long and short of it, we brought my dad a heck of a lot. He and I a heck of a lot closer, working together, and basically I was there to keep my my brother-in-law's seat warm, and he came back 6 months, luckily, and I said, "Dad, I kind of like this. Can I help in other ways?" So I dove in and became the director of mortgage lending. Then it was Howard Hanna Mortgage Services, and I think I made some positive changes there. And we continued to grow the business until about 2008, and then 2008 made the decision that it was time to leave.
That was good timing.
Yeah, exactly.
So was it that, and then the bracelets, and then SLN?
The Capital Holdings turned into.
There you go. She's actually listening.
Yes. Well, I have it.
Molly's.
But you spelled capital wrong.
No, I didn't.
With a K. All my siblings names begin with K.
Okay. Clever.
So Latore Capital with a K.
We thought it was communist.
With a C.
Communists always do the stuff with the K. Anywho.
No, I don't.
No? You never saw the Russian stuff? It's not important. All right, so then Movable is 2011, right? So somewhere between Movable, somewhere between 2008 and 2011, Latore Capital Holdings is doing its thing.
So Latore Capital starts in 2008, and basically what we look to do was, and this kind of probably ties this all together, is one, to invest in companies to help entrepreneurs stand up one of the biggest challenges for entrepreneurs is finding capital, and finding people that actually know how to deploy capital and advise them. As a lawyer, you get approached every day if somebody wants to start a business. And take no disrespect by this, but the last person I tell people to ask about starting a business is a lawyer, because they're going to say, okay, we need to form an operating agreement. We need to do this. We need to do that. We need to do that. And before you know it, you're $10,000 in the hole, and you haven't even advanced your product.
Yeah.
So, long and short of it was to take an opportunity to say, okay, if you've got a good idea, bring it to us. And, we're going to leverage our network and our, to a certain extent, our capital, but also bring experienced other people around the table to say, how can we make you successful? Or how can we tell you, unfortunately, in some cases, that you have a bad idea before you make the investment, and potentially, risk, everything you've earned or you've built to this point.
So when someone brings you that idea, do they need to bring it with a business plan, or because you mentioned that you write those as well? So
on cocktail napkins.
Yes. So, can someone just come to you with an idea, and then with the experienced people that you have around the table, they could get, create a business plan for you if it's a good idea? And
a perfect example is my nephew. Nephew's a very bright young man. He's actually, I think, going into his junior year now at OU. A couple years ago, he had an idea, and he said, I'm not going to talk about the idea, but he said, here, Uncle Keith, can I come talk to you about this? I said, all right, come out at like 6 o'clock. Nobody's going to be in the office. You and I can talk about it. And he goes, well, I got this idea, and this is going to be a gold mine. I said, okay, let's take a step back. What do you need to do? Okay, what do you mean? I said, well, what's your business plan? Well, again, I got the idea. That's all it takes. No. Let's take a step back. Let's look at the competitive analysis. All right. What's it going to cost to start this business? What about developing the product? Is there anything else out there in the market right now? Once you've identified if there are competitors, is there room? Is there any patented technology around this space?
I feel like I'm on Shark Tank.
Well, again, it's and I think I love Shark Tank. I don't watch it because it almost hits too close to home.
I'm sure.
But it's funny, people have told me to watch it all the time, but it's one of those things where, the evaluation process is the same. It's a matter of whether or not you stick to it, because these are all ideas, and people can get emotional about ideas. Mm-hmm. I've gotten emotional about ideas. I've gotten passionate about things that I wanted to do that were ultimately bad ideas.
Mm-hmm. I will tell you as an aside, divorcing your ego from your business is one of the hardest things I think that any business owner can do, and it's like almost impossible to do, I think, without having another person in the room, to your point, to poke holes in it objectively, right? People, I think, psychologically become enamored with their own thought processes, right? There's just this familiarity concept that makes, it seem like a great idea, even though it probably isn't. So I think to your point, Keith, getting a third party to poke holes at your concept is probably the smartest thing you can do way before you talk to a lawyer. But one thing that we do here at the Gertzberg Law Firm actually is
shameless plug.
Yeah, connect people with guys like you who to do that before. In that first meeting, we actually go through a list of advisors that they're going to need, right? And one of them is definitely a business consultant to do just what you did with your nephew, right? Is do the cost analysis and the patent questions and competitive comparisons and things like that. So I think that you're dead on.
Did he come back? Did he
No, I said here, and I gave him, it's funny, Taylor Cousins was the professor at University of Richmond that I had that gave me this business plan outline from Ernst & Young that I still use to this day. And I give it to any entrepreneur. And I say, this is the best business plan outline I've ever seen, because entrepreneurs by nature have shiny object syndrome, the inability to focus, and their attention is diverted. Not that we can't or they can't, but they think in bullet points, and that's what this business plan brought it down to. And any bullet point they can pontificate on for hours at times, but they don't want to spend the time writing it.
Right.
So again, I gave it to my nephew, and I said, okay, go back with this. Let's start with page one. Let's build a little executive summary and just do some, kind of, shallow competitor analysis. And he said, okay, I'll get back to you. Asked him at, Thanksgiving dinner. You can get back to me. I'm still working on it. Since been 3 years now.
Oh,
So this is
boy.
the stuff you were doing at Latore Capital.
This is stuff that I continue to do.
Still,
Okay.
yeah.
Right before this call, I'm not going to, I can't discuss specifics, but complete disruptor to the adult sports community. You'll get one of my best friends and my best man at my wedding calls me and said, "This guy needs your help." And I said, anything. What do you need? And he said he's got this idea, but I don't think he can execute it on it by himself. He needs somebody to tell him, what's what. So I got on the phone with him, thought it was an interesting idea, and said, I'll help you. And so the call, I just got the demo of his new app, which is going to, I think, be something big. And but he's at the point where he's taking the risk. Right now, he's putting his own money on the table, which is so important for an entrepreneur, by the way. Spending somebody else's money is easy.
Yeah, for sure.
But putting your money where your mouth is vitally important.
Do you guys take equity? Does Latore Capital take equity as they advise these?
We do, but it's with cash. It's not based on the intangible advice that you get.
So in other words, you guys invest in, okay. And you're also helping them raise money on their own? Okay. And you're doing this while you're doing SLN?
Correct. It may look like a jumbled mess from my LinkedIn profile, but long and short of it, with SLN is one of those things where I dove in. Yeah. And I've become the operator of the business. As far as Latore Capital and our outside investing activities, those investments have been made and were made, and I still advise people. But my focus entirely is on SLN right now.
Keith, what do you think the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur is?
It's an interesting question.
Because
there's two things. Being an entrepreneur at 22 is easy. There's nothing to lose.
Yeah.
I'm staring 40 in the face with 4 children and an amazingly supportive wife. That is the difference. That is where you really have to believe in what you're doing, because you're not only affecting your life, but you're affecting others in that respect. And so when you take risk, one of the things about me is that I'm a fan of risk, but it's out of belief. And it was funny, I had a wonderful conversation with a gentleman that I just met a month ago, and it's one of those people you meet that just kind of changes your life a little bit. And I said, I'm having some struggles with the business, and it's it's going well, but it could be going better. And I there's things we want to do, and 40 has that stigma around it. And he said, keep going. I said, it's good advice, but not advice that I haven't received before. He said, keep going. He goes, I've had the pleasure of knowing 3 billionaires in my life. And he goes, the one thing they have in common, the 3 of them? I go, what? And he goes, 3. And I go, yeah, there's 3 of them. He goes, no, 3 bankruptcies.
Huh. And
he said that they, not bankruptcies like traditional bankruptcies, like gone through the courts and all this stuff, but to where they didn't have a pot to piss in, to use a colloquial expression.
You hear that a lot, yeah.
And he said, you know what did it? They kept going. He goes, one of those in particular approached me at a time in my life when I didn't want to take the risk. And he just sold his company for $3.1 billion. I look back at that with some sort of regret, but I learned the lesson. And he goes, the happiest day I ever had was when I drove my daughter to her school to start attending college, knowing that I was not only paying for that year's tuition, but the whole full year, 4 years tuition. He goes, I cried all the way back home, 7 hours back to Ohio, because there was a time when I had $20 in my pocket, and I made a good evening for my family with that $20. Yeah. But to be able to do that, that is why I did it, because it was about what I was able to do, not only in my business, but for my family and provide for my family.
ever not succeed in a business
Oh.
or a venture?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, they're numerous. But again, it's one of those things where you talk about you check all the boxes, but then ultimately there's so many variables, and
Which of those stands out?
Huh.
So right now, what you're thinking, there's definitely one that stands out. The question you're asking yourself is, do I want to talk about it? Right?
It's not one that stands out. I love the psychology there.
Alex is very deep.
Yes, obviously.
Or I just make lots of false assumptions loudly.
Yes, like any good attorney.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, does anything keep me up at night? No. As far as oh my God, that could have, it's more looking back and learning from it, and saying, to your point, kind of earlier was, like you lock in an ego, and it's like, I can make this happen no matter what, and I will run through a brick wall. Well, guess what? After you run through 6 brick walls and the 7th pops up, you say, now's not the time. And there's also economic factors at play too. I mean, when we formed Latore Capital, I mean, the world changed.
Yeah.
So ideas that were amazing ideas that could have achieved levels of financing that they needed to be successful businesses, it wasn't there anymore.
I've been thinking about this.
Do you love how I dodged that question?
And we're coming back to it. You're not. I'm not letting you off the hook. In fact, it's a lightning round question later. So I was giving you the opportunity to think about it. I was planting a seed.
I mean, when you have 74 failures, it's hard to pick with just one.
So this is what I was just going to say, right? Is owning a business, starting a business, making it successful inherently involves gambling, right? Every entrepreneur is a gambler by definition. Mm-hmm. And you always hear about how people make educated risks, take calculated risks, right? And I think that the ones that can say that they took calculated risks and succeeded aren't telling you about all the calculated risks they took and failed at, right? It's
revisionist history.
Yeah, it's just that the ones you hear about are the ones from the success. But like, do you know the Elon Musk story? Right.
In fact, at lunch today, it was just maybe this is not the same story. That as early as 2000 or is what is that earlier or is recently as 2011, he was borrowing $250,000 a month for his living expenses, by the way, from friends and family.
He was living on his buddy's couch, right? Because he lost his house and he declared or he was either teetering on bankruptcy or declared bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. This was after he had already been a billionaire, right? But he staked everything he had from it was PayPal, right? Mm-hmm. On either Tesla or SpaceX, whichever came first, right?
Yeah.
I think it was Tesla, and nobody was buying electric cars at that time. And he put everything he had in it, then borrowed everything he could and put all of that into it, and pretty much lost everything, and just decided that he needed to keep going and just kept finding ways to borrow, basically. And then there was some intervention, whether it was, and I don't know what it was, whether it was somebody came into his life or divine intervention or something in the market, but suddenly everyone started buying Teslas. And now it's like, he can name his own price on them, and he started rocket ship companies.
They are out there for sure. Like I always see.
Well, I think, like anything, an entrepreneur will tell you that give me time.
Yeah.
And time costs money. And I'm blessed to have some amazing partners that have supported me through all, through all this, friends, family, investors, that, it's a pivot is a term that's used, and you only do so many pivots. But sometimes when you're exploring something that nobody's ever done before, there's not a roadmap. There's not something you can follow and say, and again, even for a law firm, you say, let me use the mortgage business, right? Okay, if you set up a mortgage business, you're going to go write loans, give people money to buy their houses. Everybody's done it before. The marketing is pretty similar. The execution is pretty similar. But when you start out and say, no one's done this before, who do you go to for advice?
Right.
Because no one's done it. So you try and surround yourself with people that have done similar things. But over time, you learn that you're gonna fall on your face more than you're gonna stand proud. But to that story, it's like, okay, yeah, he saw something.
Right.
The world didn't realize it, but he kept going.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that the mental game in it is one of the things that I'm sure all three of those billionaires had in common too, right? Which is that at no point did they say, forget this entrepreneurial business, right? I'm going to go get a steady paycheck now.
I'll tell you one other piece of advice I received recently. It said that, okay, I'm sure your wife is, not in love with your lifestyle, right? The entrepreneurial lifestyle is tough, but okay, tell your wife to go find you a job where you have
unlimited upside,
complete autonomy.
Yeah,
you can do whatever you want, and also make whatever you want.
Right.
And if she can find you that job, great, go take it. But that job doesn't exist unless you're doing it for yourself.
Right.
And to that end, is it the smart choice? No, but it's also not based on the fact that I just want to make $1 million or $10 million or $100 million.
Right.
I truly believe in creating things that will help people. Like, I mean, best success story for Movable. I had a parent come to me in Ella's class, and I think she had to be second grade. And we had just introduced it, and they had, I was there for one of the, kind of the band presentations to, kids when they achieved their certain mile marker. And Dad came over to me. He never met him before, and he came up to me and goes, "You're changing lives," flat out. And it was like that. I was like, that.
Yeah.
How do you?
That was my favorite thing in the essay contest. But were you following the essay contest? At the reception, right? To have parents come up to me and say, "My kid is never going to be the same again," right? Because of this contest, because you gave him a giant oversized check from First Energy, that like stopped me in my tracks, and it's a great reminder of why you're doing what you're doing.
We were talking about that with the calves.
Yeah.
Like, does it just get so old to them? Like our kids do the high five. Does it get so old for them that they don't realize that each kid that is high-fiving them is walking away and changed in some sort. I mean, it made a difference. And, we get touched that way occasionally. They're touching people like that 24/7. And I hope that they don't take that for granted. I hope they every once in a while realize how much, because I know how we felt after the essay contest and how you're feeling when that dad says something.
Well, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, we don't have the celebrity that they do, so I've never walked in their shoes, so I can't judge. But yeah, to your point, it's that if I were to say me put in that position, that would feel good, and I would slap high fives until till my hand hurt. Not enough to affect my jumper, of course.
So Cleveland Playhouse. Tell me more. Obviously, you get on a board because you're passionate about that. Yes. No. So tell us more about that then.
Well, I have to give a shameless plug for Freaky Friday.
Oh, yes.
Which is on stage right now.
I need to go see that.
And if you need tickets, call me after
going
this.
To.
Is that the Jamie Lee Curtis movie?
It was, yes, back in the day.
Where they switched places?
Oh, and Jodie Foster.
It is awesome.
Is it kid friendly?
I took my 3 girls.
Sorry, thank you.
Yes, quit clicking your pen.
I'm nervous. Freaky Friday.
But I took my 3 girls, and they absolutely loved it.
Huh.
And I've since sent we have a number of interns that work, and they all went and loved it.
What theater is it in?
It's in the Allen Theater.
Because it's not part of. Because I'm a season ticket holder.
At Playhouse Square.
Correct.
Yeah, that's not the Cleveland Playhouse.
But sometimes you get tickets.
So we did a partnership on Steel Magnolia.
Which was phenomenal.
Yes.
But I saw that too.
Keep in mind that all that is produced by Cleveland Playhouse. So our artistic director was, and that's so the difference between Playhouse Square and listen, my parents have been huge supporters of Playhouse Square for years. I grew up attending it was awesome, and it was one of my first. Well, my wife Krista, one of our first dates was there, so super cool. But I didn't know the difference, frankly, until I got asked to potentially join the board, and it's very different. Playhouse Square is your Broadway productions. They're going to bring Wicked to town, and they're going to do it, and it's going to be awesome. And I enjoy those shows. Playhouse Square's mission is a little different. It's producing, not only original content, but also producing everything from the sets that get built at a warehouse here in Cleveland. Employs people to build those sets for every single play that they do, whether it's Little Shop of Horrors or Steel Magnolias or Freaky Friday. All that. Also a huge apprenticeship program, which allows kids that are theater majors that want to learn about fundraising, right? Or want to learn about set production, want to learn about directing, want to learn about any facet. There's a house where they all live. I think there's 20 of them that spend time with the staff at Cleveland Playhouse. Educational. I mean, that's the other part of the mission is just helping our schools, particularly in Cleveland, helping kids through actors who are naturally what's the word I'm looking for, animated and engaging.
As he's flinging his arms around.
Yes, exactly.
He's very animated himself.
But to help them connect emotionally, to help them find different ways to learn, it's awesome. I was just telling the managing director the other day, I was like, I come in here and every day I learn something new about what we do, it's awesome. I mean, I just met with the marketing team last week, and they were doing a young professional initiative because you look around the audience and they're not our age in this room. It's a little bit older, and that's just the theater crowd. It used to be going to the theater, right? It was theater season, and now it's tough to engage that audience when you have Cavs games we're talking about, or Indians games, or anything else that why do I want to go to the theater? But it is awesome.
So I'll tell you a couple thoughts on that. Number one, Cleveland has an amazing theater scene, right?
Yes.
Between the Playhouse and Playhouse Square, and then like all the community theater, Chagrin Valley Little Theater, and Dobama. And
Gates Mills has an amazing little theater.
Duck Center for the Arts is another one.
They're all so good. They're not like amateur hour. They're all really
Even
good.
the high school productions are crazy.
Yeah. But the other thing
That
is
Peter Pan, man.
Yeah, that Peter Pan with that
With that one
upstart, that young upstart Molly Gebler.
Oh
That's
my
right.
goodness.
That's right.
But the other thing is, I used to say that one of the best gifts you can give your kid is to send them out of the country for some period of time because it exposes them to the way other people live.
I'll let you know in August.
Right. Because that's when your daughter
She'll be back.
from Paris.
She'll be back.
Yeah.
This reminds me of a trip that my mother told me. I went away a boy and came back a man.
Really?
Oh.
Yes.
I want to hear that in a second.
Yes.
All right. No, but the theater I think goes right along with that, right? Is because it is its own. There's only so much you get from a book or from a movie, but when you see people on stage, right, and you see them putting themselves out like that and being subject to scorn or ridicule or praise or applause, and then you see that talent happen, right, and then you see immediate reaction to it, right. I was in Heights Youth Theater as a kid, right.
Played Grease. Or...
I was Kaniki
Yes.
in Grease, and I was in Bye Bye Birdie. Yeah, I was Hugo Peabody in Bye Bye Birdie.
Which is coming to, they're doing that on the TV version.
Anywho, the point is, right? A lifetime of exposure to theater. I think, had that not been there for me, I don't know what kind of person I'd be. It really does give you an entirely different perspective on talent, on courage, right? Embarrassment. What are you doing?
Producers coming in and saying, "Shut up, Alex."
Getting yelled at.
I will tell this, and I'll make a segue for you.
Yeah.
I want to hear how you turn into a man.
But most importantly, I would entrepreneurship. We're talking about that a little bit here. You're on a stage, but there's no immediate gratification. Yeah. So I'm not saying it's different, better, or anything else. But when you're on stage, you put that performance on the line. over time, it's one of those things where it's like you put yourself out there and you never know what people are going to think, and that's
Agreed.
It's a quality, and that's why I admire the people that go on stage so much. I mean, again, shameless plug for Freaky Friday, but you'll see the acting is spectacular. The characters are awesome.
Can't wait.
And
Speaking of immediate gratification, let's learn how learn how Keith went away a boy and came back a man from his trip abroad.
yes,
Where were you?
Australia.
Oh.
16.
Wow.
Yes, a company came to the school and said, we're choosing 23 kids to go to Australia and literally get in a Land Cruiser and goes across the outback. It's from
That'd be amazing.
Diving on the Great Barrier Reef, jumping off 50-foot cliffs, hot air balloons across the plains to, and that's probably even just scratching the surface. But it was absolutely awesome. But so we actually met at McDonald's in Solon with the CEO of the company, and my mother asked, she's like, my son's 16 years old. You have kids going from 16 to 23. Is he going to be okay? Like, oh, absolutely. He's going to be awesome. We really have great counselors, and it's going to be a great experience for him, one he'll remember for a lifetime. Needless to say, fast forward 3 months in Australia.
So you were there for 3 months?
For 3 months.
Wow.
That would be amazing.
And I would recommend to anyone ever go if you have the opportunity. Yeah. It's awesome. But yeah, it was a it was a very tearful goodbye. I remember with party with my family and I have older siblings, and it was the first time I had gone away on my own and all that stuff. And I got there and I hit the ground running, let's say. And I was the youngest person in the group, 16. So and imagining that experience, and there were Victoria Bitters, VBs, were these little green cans of beer in Australia, and I think I had a couple of them. But needless to say, I didn't communicate with my parents at all in 3 months.
How was your mother about that?
I'm nearly 40, and she reminds me every time I see her.
This also is part of the youthful indiscretions reference that you
yes,
made earlier.
And the one letter I did write home, because she did provide me with letters, stamps, and everything else, was to my brother to talk about the girlfriend that I had found in Australia that happened to be, again, I'm 16, a sophomore at college.
Oh dear!
Look at you, my goodness! You gotta go to Australia.
Stud.
I wouldn't say that. I young, impressionable, and anyhow.
Keith, I was in your office a few. I guess it must have been a few years ago now when we were both. Are you still over there on South Franklin?
We are soon to be moving, but
are you?
Yeah.
Where are you moving to?
It's funny. We'll see.
Okay.
It's going to be we're staying in Chagrin. The question is, I just found out about another space today that I'm going to be looking at tomorrow.
Gotcha.
So we're going to be in Chagrin, but just one. Well, not going to go into details, but it's awesome. Berkshire Hathaway. I'll give them a little plug here. Berkshire Hathaway.
Susan.
Yeah, Susan, and they were looking for space that had some storefront. We don't need storefront, being a technology company.
Right.
So we sublet a portion of the space to them. They continued to grow. God bless them. And we said, you know what? Great. You take the whole space, and we'll go find somewhere else to go. So
when I was in your office, when mine was across the street from you,
mm-hmm.
I looked up on your bookshelf and saw like 10 books, 8 of which I had read.
Me too.
And yeah, Molly read all of them. Mm-hmm. Molly doesn't read. So you and I have similar book tastes. Did you just flip me off, Molly?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. For the radio audience at home, Molly is being vulgar.
And I love Nellie, shoving notes over here too. It's got me all.
Nellie's a taskmaster.
She's our producer.
Here,
we love her.
Which book on that bookshelf was the most influential for you?
God, I should have been prepared for this question.
He doesn't remember what those are all for show.
Well, there was I can tell you the Jack Welch book was up there.
Well, I can tell you this. I have, it's one of the things you kind of hit a nerve, because I was a voracious reader for so many years, and just life.
Yeah.
And the access of, interesting documentaries on TV. I'm a big documentary
Yeah,
dork.
me too.
Thank you for saying that you don't have to read that because we're busy living life. Alex doesn't have a life, so he has to sit around and read all day.
Don't get self-conscious,
I love
Molly.
that, Keith. I'm going to use that all the time. Thank you.
We all think that you're.
Thank you.
You're. Okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Keith.
I'm trying to think.
He
of
loves
most-
documentaries.
Yeah, I mean, documentaries. There was an interesting one. It was just about a West Virginia coal miners, but that was one I watched last night. But I don't know. I don't. I mean, I'll tell you books that I read over and over. Lord of the Rings, all that. I read that growing up. I literally read it probably 10 times. Hemingway, huge Hemingway fan. I've read every single. Everything he's written, even the True at First Light, which his son wrote helped complete what's the word?
Posthumously.
Posthumously, there you go. Vonnegut is another big. So you get away from the business books. I mean, everybody can read Jack Welch, no offense. Everybody can read,
None taken.
Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. Do I take nuggets from them? Are there books that have impacted my worldview when it comes to what I do? Yeah. But more importantly, I look to literature for an escape, and I look, for quality writing that speaks to me as a human versus a businessman.
And that's probably why you like documentaries so much, too, because they probably do the same thing to you.
Yeah. It's stories. I mean, come back to the theater. I mean, let's bring it all back. Mm-hmm. It's stories. One of the questions that our artistic director at Cleveland Playhouse asked me when I joined the board, she said, what's it to you with this whole theater thing? And I said, it's history. I love history. One, I admire the actors. That was actually my first comment. But the second was, I'm a huge history buff. To be able to tell that story in live theater, with all the nuance and the ability to, that's awesome. I mean,
well, the one thing you hear over and over again in business is don't sell the numbers, sell the story, right?
Mm-hmm. Well,
it's more emotional. It's more compelling.
Well, it's funny. As I mentioned earlier, I was on a call with a guy who's going to raise $500,000, and he's never done it before, and he's obviously nervous. He thinks he's put the best product forward, and I was doing a final product review with him. And he had a page about his team, right? And it's like, he's got this advisor from this fund. He's got this, really cool development partner that just, helped the company raise $47 million. What was missing was him. He never put his name on the actual team. Mm. And I said, who are they going to remember when they walk away?
Right.
And I go, for what it's worth. He said, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't catch that. And I said, yeah, you're focused on all these other moving parts that add value, but you're the one who's at the center of this. You're the one that's either going to make this go or not go.
Right.
And, it takes some sort of ego, and I don't know if you left it off because of lack of ego or trying not to, show your ego, but guess what? If I were an investor in your company and I flipped to that page and didn't see your name on it, I'd be a little concerned.
Yeah.
You just outsourced your company.
Right.
So.
All right. Lightning round, Molly? Lightning round. All right, Keith, you ready? Are you ready? Biggest.
Is there fun music playing in the background? Right
There
now?
will be.
There's a gong.
Gong. How long do I have?
You'll be able to.
You have to answer instantly and without thinking about it. Biggest success. Can't say your kids or your family.
My wife.
Nope. Family. Nope.
Yes, the big. See, these are deep.
I know. Just first thing that comes to your head, man.
To be honest with you,
Invited on this podcast.
my friendships.
Good. Biggest failure. However you want to define failure. Learning experience or failure.
If you're going to ask a lightning round question, you can't coach the person.
Well, some
Yes,
people,
Alex.
because some people take that to mean I don't believe in failure, but everyone believes in something that is defined differently, but means basically that they did not succeed at the thing that they were trying to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Feel
Biggest failure.
Yeah.
second semester Japanese at University of Richmond.
That's your biggest one?
He did get an F, right?
Well, here's the thing: we learn from failure, right? I'll honest to God, tell you that the culmination of failure. I studied Latin for 6 or 7 years, and I was ready to take the AP exam, but decided to go out and hang out with my buddies in high school. Didn't take the AP, so I had to take a language. So then I
Your
took
magistra probably did not like that.
Yes. So then took Japanese, bombed out of that. Then ended up taking Spanish and met a professor that is still to this day a dear friend of mine and a gentleman that I've spent talking about life. So
you were going into international business, right?
Yeah, well, that after Japanese that took a left. But Al Dawson, I'll actually call him out by name. And I owe him a phone call, but he lives on the side of a mountain in Colorado right now. Awesome man who I remember we used to drink Jack Daniels at the time, and we used to sit on his porch and talk about life. And he was an awesome individual. In fact, him and his wife wrote the Diko Hecho, I think, whatever, books that are in most college campuses or were. But you would never have guessed it. He was an awesome individual that out of a failure, again, maybe not my biggest, but the one that comes to mind without going into some, deeper, darker place, that turned into success.
Good.
But I would say, if anything, that is the point, is that when you look at as an entrepreneur, failure is just a stepping stone to success. And, and it's not endless. Okay, lightning round continued.
Molly?
So any influential women other than your wife, a mother figure? Was your mother very influential in your life, in your success?
Absolutely. My mother protected me from my father, frankly, growing up, which was a good and bad thing. But my mother and I had a tremendous relationship growing up and continue to. And, certainly there's a woman behind every man or a man behind every woman. I firmly believe that. Other influential women, I would say, honest to God, Ann O'Donnell, may she rest in peace. She was my advisor at school. I went to university school, and she was my advisor, and we were called honey bears. And there's a certain network of individuals throughout greater Cleveland and the United States that will recognize that term. But it was tough to get into her clan, but once you were protected, but most importantly, you were expected to serve, because she actually ran the two societies that did all of the support for the school, but also all the outreach for charitable donations and whatnot. And absolutely awesome. I'm so sad when she passed away a number of years ago. But she was one. My mother from an early age told me about giving back, but Ann O'Donnell really said, But she's one of those people that you meet that accepts you how you are and understands how you are.
Okay.
And knows how to teach you how you are.
Okay.
So yeah. Well, anyway.
Good.
There's probably 4 others, but.
Keith, what is a really embarrassing thing that nobody knows about you?
That no one knows?
Yeah, an embarrassing story that nobody out there knows.
As I think I wrote in my little bio inquiry, I am an open book. But
sounds like a cop out.
It really isn't. There's 40.
Them are fighting words.
There are 47 embarrassing stories about me. It's just whether or not no one knows them or not.
All right. How about the embarrassing story that the least number of people know?
All right. Well, let me tell you this. I'll tell you about my wife and I first date. This is embarrassing.
All right. I like where this is going.
Yes. We'll skip me meeting her for the first time, because that is truly embarrassing.
I want to hear that next.
But our first date, I had actually was wearing a borrowed suit by another Chagrin Falls resident, Jack Subel.
Yes.
And it was a black suit that I had borrowed. I didn't have my own suit at the time, and I was 21. I was still in college, and I was about to graduate. She had already graduated. And so I called her up and I said, where would you like to go? Where haven't you been, is what I actually asked. And Lola was a new restaurant at the time. We're talking, way back. And I said, have you ever been to Lola? She's like, no. So I made reservations at Lola. We went to Lola. It was spectacular. The food was amazing. Actually, Michael was sitting at the bar when we were there, which was really cool. But more importantly, I said, excuse me, I have to go to the restroom. So I we go to the restroom, and and go to zip my zipper back up, and it doesn't go up. Gets stuck. It won't go up. I said, all right, what do I do here? Well, the bathroom at the time at Lola was right across from like kind of the kitchen and the pass right there. And so I poked my head out of the bathroom, and this is after being in there for like 5 minutes, like God knows what she's wondering I'm doing. And so I and I see our waitress bust by, and I'm like, listen, I need your help. She's like, what? She's like, my zipper won't go up. It's my first date. Do you have a safety pin? We have no safety pin. She brings a stapler.
Nice. You know what that is? Resourceful.
Yes.
And so I'm sitting, then I'm back in the bathroom for another 5 minutes trying to staple my pants back together.
What if you have to go to the bathroom again after that?
Yeah.
Yes.
You got to carry the stapler with
There
you
was
the whole
no
time.
lucky evening for him.
Yes,
that night,
needless
sure.
to say, it didn't happen. Right?
Yeah.
So I finally was like, screw it. So I untucked my shirt and I walked back out.
That's the move.
And I said, I'm sorry, but I got to admit that my zipper broke in the bathroom. and
She was like, likely story, Keith.
yeah, exactly. And I said, I'm sorry. She's like, oh my God. She's like, I thought you left.
The thing of it is, like, staplers and zippers don't go. Crotch areas and staplers should not be brought together.
They should not be the same
Made you sweat a little.
proximity, especially, as you were alluding to earlier.
All right. Keith,
Oh boy.
this was awesome. Molly, this was awesome. Wouldn't you say?
This is so great.
Oh boy.
So we're definitely going to put the sizzler up. That
This is producer Nelly
Keith had
giving notes
mentioned.
to
Yes.
the talent here.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sounds
So
good.
if somebody wanted to find out more about Shop Local Now, where would they find that information?
Yes, it's Save Local Now or SLN Connect, by the way. But thank you.
What did you say? Shop local now?
Shop Local Now.
Keith, if somebody wants to
Save
find out about
shop.
Groupon, where should they go?
Is there a Save Local Now? If someone wanted to learn more about Save Local Now and Save Local Now Connect, where would one?
It's all staying in. I don't want any of that.
Save Local Now or SLN Connect. I know it's confusing. It's
Oh my
confusing to our
gosh.
customers. So.
I'm thinking that. Okay. So, Keith, if someone would want to learn a little bit more about SLN Connect or Save Local Now, where would they go to find such information?
Hopefully their local chamber of commerce. But if not, slnconnect.com or savelocalnow.com, and you can find out all about us. But we do work exclusively with chambers of commerce or associations dedicated to small businesses. So small businesses cannot buy our service right off the street. And that's one of the things that we do for our chamber partners is to allow them to use our tool to recruit new members and engage new members and retain new members. So, but that being said, call me and I'll sell it to you on the side. Yeah.
Yes, somebody should call.
Somebody
the
should talk.
chamber.
I know.
And
Versus
yes,
the
we see each other on the street all the time, and we say we have to talk, and that's pretty much where it goes.
Well-
we have to talk, but we're going to talk someday soon. And then what's the next step? What's coming up? What do our listeners need to know about any of your many businesses other than Freaky Friday,
Other than Freaky Friday, no.
which I will be calling you right after this.
Yes.
'Cause I want to see that.
No, absolutely. So no, as far as as far as about me, not too much. For anyone else that actually is listening, best
Keith's
advice I got.
new line of zippers is coming out in the fall.
Keep going.
You know what? That might be a little Velcro piece that would
Ooh.
flip over in case of situations
Well, you
like
should
that.
see-
I'll talk to you. I'll write my business plan
If
and
you
get
do
back
watch
to you.
the Sizzler video about SLN Connect, you'll see me in a bright green polyester suit, which there apparently is other video around because when you introduce something, you want to make a splash.
That's right.
So I decided that a bright green polyester suit would be the way to do it. And I don't know if you know what Sanzabel pants are.
No.
Yes, they're the ones with the stretchy stuff on the side. So
Okay.
they're kind of one size fits all.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
those have a name, huh?
Sanzabel.
Sanzabel.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
I've always thought somebody should be daring with zippers, and you know how like little kid pajamas had the drop drawers on the back,
Yes.
right? I think that one day in the future it should be drop drawer zippers, 2 buttons. You know what I mean? Wouldn't that be cool? No.
It'd be easy access.
Come on, Gap. Be daring. Be bold.
See, there you go.
So if you'd like to hear Keith's story or any of our 20 other stories that we have on the Best Podcast Ever, visit www.thebestpodcastever.com and subscribe, and you will be contacted on a weekly basis when the next podcast drops. Or you can email us at bestpodcastever1@gmail.com. Also follow us on Facebook, iTunes, and Stitcher.
And just for reference, you don't have to pronounce the www anymore.
Our producer literally instructed me to say www. She did during our talk. Yeah, she did.
Yes.
It's recorded, so I'll have proof.
What is it? Best.Podcast.Ever.
I never do. I never do the
best.
wwws ever anymore.
Right.
Even like in any of my marketing, I never ever do that.
Is there another option?
Because you can just do it without that.
What
right?
I'm saying, is there another option other than www?
Is there?
No.
You're the techie person. I'm not.
That's the point. No.
No. Okay.
So
I hear you.
there was a time, then you're like, but that
Right.
time has passed.
That time is gone. Well, point is, like us.
Yeah.
Email us.
And
listen
you
to us.
gotta hashtag it too.
Hashtag it. We gotta get on Twitter.
We do.
We gotta get on Twitter. We have to
Nelly will
give
take
Nelly,
care of
only so much, and
You
then
gotta
we
tease
throw
the
her.
audience a little bit. You gotta say hashtag Best Podcast Ever, guest, not me, someone else, and activate your followers
I think that's on the horizon.
More than our selfie that we take every week.
more than yourself.
That's our little teaser that we put out on
Nice.
Facebook.
But when you
Are we
go,
taking a selfie?
Heck yeah, we
for
are.
sure.
Oh,
Molly gets the shakes if she leaves and doesn't get the
It's
selfie
my
in.
brand.
well,
Yeah.
she does fill up my wife's social media feed quite
Yeah,
often.
it's
that
my
right?
brand. It's my thing.
Exactly.
And I hope both of you, well, you're not, Nelly was. I hope maybe you can sing in the car with me. And for the month of May, we're raising money for Bob Hunt's Foundation.
Carpool karaoke.
Yes,
Well,
we've been doing it now.
can't
It's
use
called
that term.
That's My Jam. It's called.
In
We've
fact,
got 5 down already.
I may have seen it on my wife's Facebook.
You probably
because
have.
I don't actually have a Facebook page,
Okay.
which is kind of
That's probably why we couldn't get all the dirt from you.
yes, exactly.
Stay
Yes.
tuned for episode 2 of
Yes.
Keith's.
Well, I'd love for you to be
Awesome.
And we have a big check that we can write your name and put whichever logo you choose on whichever company would like to donate for the foundation.
I think
Life Extraordinary. That's what I'm doing. That's my plug for my next thing.
That's what you're
Sing in the
working on?
car
Yes.
with me.
And,
Yes.
I think it's a great idea, Molly. Actually, I think
and
that's-
Alex is going to plug his law firm again because that
No,
puts money in his
actually-
pocket.
Oh, he's
actually-
gonna plug.
I'm
Actually,
going to help out some veterans right now.
Yes.
You
yes.
cynical. No, I'm just joking. No, listen. Our firm is putting on the seminar, but it is free for veterans. Our very own Ryan Sears on May 15th, Chagrin Valley Township Hall at 10 a.m. is going to walk through the menu of veterans benefits that are available to them. I'm a veteran and Ryan's a veteran. This is a veteran-owned small business, and there's a lot of things that are available to veterans that veterans don't know about. So go to the website, gertzberglaw.com, and there's a link there for events, and all the information is there, or just show up at Township Hall next Monday, the 15th at 10 a.m.
Awesome. And actually have been partners with a number of veterans in a
pass that
business.
on.
Talk about a failure.
Oh.
But that being said, it is that's awesome.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
And
It'll be worthwhile. And lunch is provided. So
even better.
come hungry, leave happy.
And thank you for your service, Mr.
Yeah.
Richburg.
Oh, thank you for saying that. All right. Anything else for the good of the order, ladies and gentlemen?
I don't think so.
That was the best podcast ever,
That's
Molly.
why it's on the best
Keith, was
podcast
that not the
ever.
best podcast ever?
Third time definitely is a charm.
Oh my goodness. On this phenomenal equipment that we almost got through an entire podcast with you and recording the whole thing, but alas, we dropped about 15 minutes there. Sorry about that.
All right. Cut it down. Cut it down to 5.
The stuff that's there is the best podcast ever.
That's right.
All right, kids. Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned for another great episode a week from now or so. Bye, Molly Gebler.
Bye, Alex Kurtzberg.
Bye, Keith.
Bye.
Bye, Nellie.